Pagtuturong may kahusayan at sigla. Linangin ang iyong kaalaman at kakayahan sa pagtuturo. Humugot ng lakas at motibasyon sa pag-abot sa mag-aaral. Maging inspiradong guro kasama sina Teacher Zaisel Mike at Teacher Gretchen Nocos.
Good morning! Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. We are back.
Good morning. Parang iba yung tunog natin ngayon. Parang ang ganda-ganda ng mga microphone natin ngayon.
Parang galing tayo sa kuweba.
Salamat po sa ating mga technical dito.
Yung na lagi naming hindi napapasalam.
Yung ating mga bossings dito. Yeah.
Si Don Ramon at si Don
Juan. Si Kuya June.
Apinado. Hello mga teachers.
Ang gagaling nila. Kaya lagi pong malinaw ang ating broadcast.
Yes. So, ngayon ay pangkalahati na.
Kamusta po ang inyong mga exams? Doon po ako excited sa exam.
Medyo maraming nalito ata sa exam. Ingat po sa exam. Medyo sabi nung iba, nakakalito yung exam. So, ingat lang po ng konti.
Saka Ma'am Zel, may napansin ako, may nagpo-post nung keyword nung exam na number 1. Opo, bawal po mag-post ng keywords.
Sige, pag ginamit yan sa 3.
Opo.
So, kamusta po kayo? Gusto naming i-welcome yung ating mga listeners din sa radio listeners din po tayo, yung nanonood din po sa Facebook. Hello po sa inyong lahat, no? Tapos, kamusta Ma'am Gretchen ang linggo?
Okay naman po ang aking linggo. Ayan. So, patuloy pa rin tayo sa may mga meetings kasing nangyayari, no? Tapos, may plano na talagang i-required na yung seminar para gumawa ng modules yung mga teachers. May sabi sa akin ni husband kanina lang na morning na parang may nabasa siyang memo. Pero currently, ganun po yung nangyayari. We are continuously doing the modules for the students.
So, dire-diretsong module.
Opo.
Puro module ang inaasikaso ng mga teachers ngayon. Tapos, yung mga viewers natin, may mga viewers na ba tayo sa Facebook? Hindi ko pa na-check ang Facebook. So anyway, kung may mga viewers na po tayo sa Facebook, pa-comment po, saan po kayo nanonood? Where are you watching from? Kamusta po? This is our 4th session.
Yes.
Imagine.
Kalahati na po tayo.
Kalahati na. Tapos, alam ko may mga nag-aantay pa din ng email. Yung mga nag-aantay ng email, nilulunod ako sa email. Nagsisend po kami kasi na-late po tayo mag-send. Nag-start lang po tayo Thursday. Supposed to be nag-start kami Tuesday. Thursday na po kami nag-start kasi kailangan pong linisin yung database. Napakadaming napakadaming kailangan pong linisin. So, medyo natagalan yung paglinis. Kaya, Thursday lang nakastart. Kaya hanggang ngayon, ay nagsisend pa rin. Pero mag-stay tuned po kayo kasi may napakaganda kong announcement mamaya. Matutuwa kayo sa announcement ko mamaya. Okay?
Yes.
So,
tapos, ma'am, yung t-shirt.
Ay, oo. Available na po ang t-shirt.
Yes.
So, alam nyo kayo, saan nyo galing yung idea, di ba? Na, oo nga, pwede nyo pala kaming tulungan sa ating, sa ating shirts, no?
Yes po.
Yung ating ati, meron po kasi kaming ati tribe na gusto naming matuto, no? Na sila ay makapagbasa, hindi kasi sila pumapasok. So, isa po yan, no? Sa magiging recipient, 100% po ng proceeds dyan mapupunta. At saka, of course, to keep the red light on. Available sa Shopee.
Miss na natin yung mga ati kids natin.
Oo, kasi nga nagka-quarantine.
Yes po.
Kaya hindi din namin sila agad-agad na napupuntahan. 4 na buwan na namin silang hindi napupuntahan. Pero doon pupunta lahat yon. Everything.
Hello sa mga taga Leyte. Taga Palawan. Meron po dito.
Sila.
Sa Brook Points, Palawan. Wow, parang social naman ang lugar nun. Balete, Batangas. Good morning.
Good morning po sa inyo. Pa-comment po kung saan po kayo nanonood. So this week, we're going to look at how to write for radio. Okay, writing for radio na po tayo this week. Medyo technical at saka malaman. Madami po tayong ngunguyain ngayong araw. Pagkatapos ng show, busog kayo sa dami ng kailangan nating matutunan sa pagsusulat for radio. Medyo mahaba nga yung session natin, Ma'am Gretchen, ngayon. So siguro ang gagawin natin, mamaya po, magbibigay na lang kami ng mga announcements, magbibigay po kami ng ilang anong tawag dito? Ilang reminders, no? Tsaka may writing assignment kasi. May assignment. So kailangan po namin i-explain yung assignment, pero mamaya na po 'yon, okay? Bago kami magdasal, bibigay na namin ang unang keyword. Ang unang keyword po ay so, may ganun binulong. Kasi sinusulat nyo Bubulong ka na. Principal. Okay? Yan ang ating unang keyword. Principal. Walang magko-comment. Kukurutin ko talaga yung magko-comment.
Capital letter ba siya, ma'am? Or
kahit capital, kahit hindi na natin i-case sensitive, no?
Sige.
So, pwede ng capital, pwedeng small letters. Okay?
May mga principal po ba sa ating webinar? Baka meron.
So, para makapag-umpisa na po tayo, i-lead po tayo ni Ma'am Gretchen sa ating prayer.
Lord, good morning. Napakasaya po namin ngayon kasi kasama po muli namin kayo at syempre po sa araw-araw ng aming buhay. Kami po'y nagagalak dahil tunay ngang pinagtatagpo nyo po ang aming mga puso't isipan dito po sa aming Radio 101 Seminar. And Lord, thank you kasi na-reach na po namin. Almost halfway na po kami ng aming journey dito sa aming radio, sa aming pong training sa radio. Panginoon, sa aming pong mga participants na nahihirapan kumuha ng signal, Panginoon, please help them. Please, Lord, make way for them na maka-connect na po sa amin, sa mga wala pa po sa aming group chat, sa webinar na ito. Help them, Lord, please. And sa mga busy pa po at later pa manonood, Panginoon, nawa, Lord, ay tunay ngang magkaroon sila ng time later. And all the obstacles na nararanasan po namin, Panginoon, we know that it is your will for us to see how great you are and that we cannot do anything without you, that we need to humble down ourselves to you because you are our Lord God, our Creator. Panginoon, salamat dahil binigyan mo po kami muli ng isang napakagaling na speaker ngayon and we're excited. Lord, may we broadcast all this webinar ng clear sa amin pong mga participants and not only to touch their minds but also their hearts. And this is our prayer in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so introduce ko na po yung ating speaker for the day. Ang ating speaker for the day po ay isang mass communication graduate, no? So siya po ay Bachelor of Arts in Communication Arts pala, no? From UST. So from UST din po siya. Tapos she also took up journalism sa Southwestern College sa San Diego, California, no? Tapos nagkaroon din siya ng mga extension class on the missions, world missions sa US Center for World Missions. Ang atin din pong speaker for today ay nagturo din po, no? English instructor sa Theology University dito po sa Legazpi, at she's been with FEBC for a very, very long time, no? Napakatagal na po niya sa FEBC. Isa pong batikang writer din dito sa FEBC. Currently po, siya po ang programming supervisor dito po sa aming station sa Care 104.3 The Way FM, FEBC po sa Bicol. So please help me welcome po our speaker for today, si Ma'am Maria Cecilia Amog.
Good morning. I am Cecil Amog, and it's a privilege to talk to you this morning about two great passions that I have in my life. One, of course, is writing for radio, and the second, which I only found out about a year ago, which is teaching, when I taught an English class in our theology university. Well, these passions burned in me the depth of the call to write relevant scripts that touches not only the mind or the head, but more so the heart. Because, like what a master teacher said, effective teaching is not head-to-head, but more so it is heart-to-heart. Well, already, DepEd has announced during a press briefing for Brigada Eskwela the most essential learning competencies, or the MELCs, which will be produced, video shot, and edited by you, the teachers. The requirement of total videos to be produced each month, alam niyo po ba kung ilan? 352 program scripts, and that is for months, per month. And they will be broadcasted on TV and on radio. These are indeed exciting times for radio. Ang nais lamang nating sabihin, you and us were a fit. Ganyan tayo. Well, we have learned the past 2 Sundays through our programming director, Efren Palorina, the power of radio and its different platforms, and how to use and how to produce a radio program during this time of pandemic. Well, our response is yes, Sir F, we want to produce a radio program. But how do we go about doing it? Well, let me be a millennial for about 30 minutes, and we will go with the acrostic YBH. In other words, yes, we want to do it, but how? The whys of radio script writing. Why do you have to write your scripts? Well, number one, and this is so practical, because airtime is expensive. In 2010, we bought airtime in 2 different commercial radio stations here in Bicol. And do you know how much the rate card is generally for a radio station for a 30-minute production? It was 6,250 for a 30-minute. Grabe, no? Multiply that by 2, because I understand perhaps you will be given the minimum of an hour for your program. And so you will have to pay a commercial radio station 12,000 pesos to teach your class. Grabe, ano? Well, because airtime is expensive, it has to be budgeted. And part of budgeting your airtime is following a well-thought-of script and pattern. Airtime is limited. According to initial talks with the Department of Education, DepEd will be given about 1 hour per day by a radio station to air their classes. The most perhaps, tulad nung radio station namin sa Bacolod, would be 4 hours per weekday. Nako, if generous yung radio station, edi wow. Pero paano kung hindi? Limited talaga ang airtime. That is why you need to choose your words for the optimal learning of your message, or learning of your learners. Writing your thoughts and your script eliminates unnecessary words and jargon. The whys of radio, the third why, is because it is the highest form of language skill. And you educators know this. More than listening, speaking, reading, and viewing, writing is indeed the highest level of language skill. And when we master this language skill, we can communicate more effectively to our intended audience. If you want to communicate effectively, writing your manuscript is a must. At sinabi na yan ni Sir F, di ba? At least write an outline or yung salient points mo for your program, for that day. Also, we write for radio because writing allows you to record your words and your thoughts. Bakit mo ito kailangan? Because somewhere during your program, may magtatanong na estudyante mo at sasabihin, Ma'am, ano ba ibig sabihin nyo nito? Bakit nyo yung sinabi on air? So having your manuscript with you is the easiest way to go back to what you said. Huh? Let's go to the B of writing for radio. In a sentence, the conjunction but usually introduces a contrast or a catharsis, if we may say so. Sometimes it is also a challenge. And sabi nga ni Sir F, last week he introduced the CTA or yung call to action. In your broadcast, do you know what your B is? Simple lamang, your B is none other than you, the broadcaster. And what you bring before you in front of the mic is your total person. Dr. Howard Hendricks, and I mentioned this at the start of our session, said, teaching that impacts is not head to head, but heart to heart. To the Hebrews, the heart embraced the total personality or the totality of the human personality. Kasama po dyan yung intellect, yung emotions, and one's will. And so, the process of teaching is that of one's total personality transformed by the grace of God, reaching out to other personalities, in which case that is your students, by that same grace. What a privilege to be used by God as an agent of transformation and change in this time of pandemic. Ito, alam niyo po siguro ito, sa Prof. Ed. Socrates summarized the essence of communication with 3 fascinating components. And he called them the ethos, the pathos, and the logos. What does it mean? The ethos, and I'm talking here about you, the teacher, the broadcaster. The ethos embraced the character of the broadcaster. The pathos embrace the compassion, your ability to feel what your students are going through. Hindi sila sigurado kung makakapagtapos ba ng pag-aaral. Do you feel their pain? Your ability to have compassion for your students. And the logos embraced the content. As Socrates thought of ethos, it meant establishing the credibility of the teacher. Meaning, yung credentials ng teacher na yon. He understood that who you are is far more important than what you say or do. Ulitin ko po, who you are is far more important than what you say or do. Because it determines what you say or do. Who you are as a person is actually your greatest leverage as a speaker and as a persuader. You must be attractive to your audience. You must be attractive to your learners. They must trust you. The more they trust you, the more you can communicate with them. The pathos or the compassion. This concerns how the teacher arouses the passions of his hearer, massages their emotions. Ang ganda, no? So that Socrates knew that your emotions must run in the direction of your action. That's the secret to motivation. Because God created us as emotional and feeling beings. Of course, the prime example of this is Jesus. He was such a great master teacher. Why? Because he had compassion on his learners and his disciples. That's why they followed him in droves, because they felt his compassion for them. And they felt that his compassion for them was real. Socrates also knew that the speakers and teachers needed content. And he called it, interestingly enough, logos. And this is the same Greek word used to describe Jesus Christ in John chapter 1, verse 1, where it says, in the beginning was the Logos, or the Word. And the Logos became flesh and pitched his tent on us, among us. And we beheld his glory, the glory of the Father's one and only Son, full of grace and truth. What does this mean? You know, when God decided to communicate with us, he wrapped his message in a person. And that is what exactly we are also called to do as teachers and broadcasters. That our message will be wrapped in our total person. The Logos concept involves the marshaling of your evidence. It engages the mind and gives understanding. It provides reason for the action you want your learners to take. And they will see that yes, your content is reasonable. Yes, your content is doable. Why? Because you, as a broadcaster, you are believable and credible. As a broadcaster, I must be able to understand that the basis of all effective communication emanates from within. It starts from the heart. And so I need to ask myself periodically, what kind of person am I? It is your content that produces the learner's perception. And you, as a teacher, having seen it, I, as a learner, looking at it from your point of view, I understand it, I discover it, and now it is mine. It is woven into every fabric of my life. Bakit? Kasi nakita ko, unang-una, nakita ko sa'yo, sa pagkatao mo, doon sa ipinamalas mo sa akin, na naiintindihan mo, or you at least are trying to understand what I am going through. And of course, lastly, because of all this, your content is credible to me. You know why? The greatest communicators, the greatest teachers are not necessarily those who are upfront with high visibility. Kaya nga, sa FEBC walang diva eh. You know why? Because we are here to serve our audience. They are the people who have a great heart for the people that they serve. Do you have a great heart for the people that you will be serving? Well, now let's go to the house of writing for radio. This was introduced to us by Dr. Ross James. Ross James was one of our FEBC field workers from Australia, and he would train us. He would train new announcers and producers in writing scripts. So you use the TSW formula as a guide to achieve maximum learning impact for radio scripts. So ang dali-dali lamang nito. Kahit yung grade 1, kayang-kaya ito. So T, of course, stands for think. Think it first, and then say it, and now only, finally, write it. Okay, what do you think about? You think about the structure. Who are you writing for? What grade level are they? Oh, definitely, if your learners and your students, your audience, mga second graders, iba yung iyong lengguwahe, yung mga pananalitang gagamitin mo, kaysa kung siya ay Gen Z, o di kaya ay siya ay mga junior high or senior high, di ba? So you have to have a clear understanding about who your audience is. Whom are you writing for? What is the purpose of the program? And this is so important. I think Sir F also mentioned about this. you have to bear in mind, why are you broadcasting in the first place? You know, dear teachers, it has to go beyond requirement. It has to go just, beyond yung requirement kasi ng DepEd. Kung hindi, wala sa puso yung gagawin yung mga scripts. What is the purpose of your program? If the purpose of your program is so that your student will talagang stick it out until the last day of the broadcast, so that at least ngayong pandemic na ito, mairaos man lamang siya, mabawasan yung dropout rate, no? Ay, ang ganda ng purpose na yun. So what is the purpose of your program? What are the facts that you need to include in the script to achieve that purpose? What ideas do you need to convey? So list them down and write them down first. Identify the main structure or organization to keep those ideas related and connected. And now, you think about the opening or the introduction. Think of a strong introduction. Check a picture in the listener's mind, and you can use this. Ask a question. Questions effectively create mental images. Have you ever seen or wondered? Remember when? Naalala niyo ba bago nung lockdown? Ito yung mga ginagawa natin. Ngayon, dati nasa classroom tayo. Ngayon, nasa radyo na. Di ba? So, questions actually, they arouse the mind, yung mental capacity ng ating mga estudyante. Kaya, you can start with asking a question. Remember when? Do you? If you did this, what would happen kapag ginawa mo to? Ano kaya ang mangyayari? No? Use a personal comment or observation. Nakita ko, ganito yung nangyari sa aming paligid. Sa barangay nyo, nangyari din ba yon? Okay. Think about internal content. Okay, before that, ito, napakahalaga po nito. Connect your script content with a well-known proverb or homily. Why? Because these days are so desperate and hopeless for many students. And you, as the teacher, have been given the privilege to inspire hope so that your words are life-giving, life-infusing to your learners. And so, chances are, you get this from either the homily, the preaching, or an inspirational text, Use that to inspire hope in the hearts of your students. So you can say, you have heard people say, and also use a personal comment as an observation. Okay, so now let's go to the internal content. So with this, please leave out jargon o yung mga unnecessary, complicated detail. Ikaw mismo hindi mo maintindihan yung sinusulat mo. Paano maiintindihan ng learner yon, di ba? So, leave out what is unnecessary. Unnecessary jargon. Yung paulit-ulit na sinasabi, tanggalin po natin yon. Round out large numbers like around, about, nearly, just. Okay. Now, for programs, chances are, and talaga naman recorded kasi po ang mga programs, So, nagagawin ninyo, sa DepEd. So, we would suggest that you refrain from using time-sensitive words. Ano ba yung mga time-sensitive words na yan? Oh, definitely, do not say good morning. Just say good day or maray na aldaw, So, sabihin po natin, wag sabihin na magandang umaga, instead sabihin na magandang araw. So that way, kung hapon yung broadcast, di pasok pa rin siya, di ba, sa magandang araw. Or refrain from saying good Tuesday morning kasi hindi mo alam kung anong araw i-air yung iyong programa. So refrain from using time-sensitive words. And this, Naku, napakahalaga po nito. Talk to a friend. Alam ko, no, as new broadcasters, talagang nakaka-intimidate naman ng mic, no? Lahat tayo. May sikreto pala kami. Lahat tayo. Pinagdaanan yan. Nai-intimidate din kami. Na-intimidate din kami yung first time na humarap kami sa mikropono. Kaya lang, meron kaming sikreto dyan. You know what our trade secret is? Let me share with you. Sinabi po ng aming mga trainers ganito. Think about your best friend. What kinds of thoughts and emotions are evoked when you think about your best friend? Diba? Relaxed ka. At ikaw na ikaw yon. So, ganun din po sa radyo. Because you are talking to a friend, to an airwave friend. And I tell you, mag-iiba ang tono mo. Mag-iiba ang tono mo kapag ini-imagine mo yung best friend mo. Yung iba pa nga, pinapadala talaga, no? Nagpapadala pa ng picture nung mga kapanahunan namin when I first started broadcasting. That was what my supervisor taught me, no? Dalhin mo nga yung picture ng nanay mo para pag kinausap mo yung audience, ang dating talagang warm and friendly. Talk to a friend. Okay, so now, let us think about the listener learning techniques. Ano ba itong listener learning techniques? Alam nyo yan, mga teachers, ano? Clarification. Ang ibig ko pong sabihin dito sa concept na ito ay ganire. And isa pang tip. If you are able to simplify complex ideas so that a 9-year-old or a 7-year-old can understand what you're talking about, ibig sabihin, malinaw yung iyong mensahe. You'd be surprised. Meron kaming programa, yung news and current affairs namin, may tumatawag, no, na 4-year-old dati. Doon sa aming programa na for millennials, no, yung TNT, may tumatawag na 7-year-old and 9-year-old. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Pretty much, nahihit yung general audience, because you have to remember you are not only talking to your students, you are talking to an entire community. Okay, so clarification. Make your message clear. Kung mas simple, mas masisimplify mo, mas maganda. Repetition. And I know, you guys know, of course, si Winston Churchill, yung Prime Minister ng Great Britain during the World War II, no? Of course, in his famous lines, in his famous sermon, or in his famous message, no, doon sa talagang discouraged na troops niya. Paulit-ulit lamang niya sinabi. Alam niyo po kung ano? Never give up, never give up, never give up, never give up, never give up. That did it for them. That energized them. Use the power of repetition. Pero wag naman yung nagnanag, ha? Huwag naman paulit-ulit. Yan. So, use the power of repetition. And problem solving. This is so important these days. You know why? Because feeling ng marami sa ating mga estudyante, feeling ng marami sa ating audience, para silang nanakawan, no, ng pagkakataon na mamili. Wala akong choice, eh. Itong pandemic na ito, wala akong choice, eh. Wala akong choice, hindi ako makauwi, eh. Give them the power of choice. And yung problem solving will help them with that. Kapag ganito ba yung nangyari, ano pa ba yung pwedeng mga solusyon na pwede nating gawin? Oo nga, hindi ka makapunta sa Manila para bisitahin yung lolo mo at lola. Ano pa ba ang pwedeng gawin para makakonect sa kanila? Give them the power of choice. And that can be solved through problem solving. Pictures for the mind. So, ang sinasabi po natin dito, of course, give them also the ability to imagine. Kasi, in this digital world, parang lahat-lahat na, no? Lahat ng bagay, nakikita mo na everything is seen. The neat thing about radio is that you have the power to harness their imagination. Nung bata pa kami, naalala ko, ewan kung naabutan nyo ito, yung gabi ng lagim. Yung iba siguro naabutan yun, ano? Alam nyo, may TV kami, pero nanonood kami nung gabi ng lagim. Bakit? Kasi yung imagination, uy, baka nandyan na yung aswang or yung manananggal. Diba? Naku, harness the power of imagination by using carefully chosen creative words. And of course, use also, use words that make people smile. Kasama din dyan, sad, surprised. Help them to realize new ideas. Masasabi po namin, dito sa aming estasyon, we have the gift of laughter. No? Why? Because, do you know that in this day, na talagang ang bigat-bigat ng pakiramdam ng maraming mga students, laughter is actually your aid. Laughter is your relief to them. At kung mapapagaan mo yung pakiramdam ng iyong estudyante, actually, you have already served your purpose. And of course, you have to share with them, ito nga, what have you told your listeners to do? Call to action, CTA, nabanggit ni Sir F. Babalik tayo, give them the power of choice na meron kang pwedeng gawin. Hindi ka biktima lamang ng pandemyang ito. Sa tulong ng Diyos, meron kang pwedeng gawin. Yeah? Pwedeng, you can choose to continue on with your studies, kahit gaano kahirap. You can choose to have a positive attitude sa work, kahit gaano ka nagsastruggle, di ba? You have the power of choice. Kaya, harness that power of choice by giving them yung call to action. And of course, think about the ending. This is tricky because dito usually merong talagang mga nagsastumble na writers. Nagsimula sa Bicol, nagtatapos doon sa Zamboanga. Pero po, ang script writing is actually circular. It comes in full circle. You go back to your opening thought. You go back to how you introduced your program. Kasi kapag malayo yung topic, malayo yung thought mo doon sa opening thoughts mo or opening premise mo, chances are your listeners will not understand you. So summarize and make your closing remarks your punchline. Isa pang tip, kung gaano ka-strong yung introduction mo, ganun din dapat ka-strong yung closing remarks mo. You know why? Ang bawat isang tagapakinig, sinasabi nila, meron lamang daw 7 to 10 minutes na attention span. Imagine mo, daldal ka lang daldal na isang oras na hindi pa nakikinig sa'yo. Yung opening line mo at yung closing line mo, chances are, it will help make or break your program. So, make your closing remarks talagang strong. Okay. So, now, you say it out loud. And for speakers, ginagawa nila talaga yon. You think about the purpose, kanino mo siya i-share, try mong siyang i-recite yung mga main thoughts mo, and then now, write it. So, use double spacing, yung 4 centimeter wide margins, in a single side of the paper. I-review mo yung script mo by reading it out loud to a reviewer. And this takes a lot of humility. We at FEBC, we practice this, We want our scripts to be edited and reviewed. Why? Because we are not the experts. Merong pang dapat nagche-check ng script na yan. At kung wala kang humility na ipa-check, ipa-edit yung script mo, hindi ka mag-grow. Kaya dito pumapasok yung mali-mali. Ang daming mali dun sa script. Bakit? Kasi hindi na-edit before broadcast. Okay? So, check for the flow, for timing, ambiguous phrases, unnecessary or clumsy repetition, and then discuss it. I would suggest, kung halimbawa, ang learner nyo po is, kunyari, grade 3. So, mga grade, anong age ba yon? Mga 10? 10 ba? Mga ganyan. Kunyari, sabihin na natin na mga 10, 9 to 10. Kung meron kang pamangkin or friend o di kaya anak na 10 years old, run through the entire program with him. And I know this takes a lot of humility, pero tanong mo sa kanya, naintindihan mo ba? Kapag tiningnan ka lang niya lang kanya, ibig sabihin, hindi, mga bata, di ba? Talagang napaka-honest ng mga yan. Pag gusto nila. Pag hindi nila type, hindi talaga nila type. So, I would have you try i-run through yung program, no? Yung script mo doon sa isang ka-age nung students. Yung students, actual students mo. Okay. So, this is a sample script of an actual program that we wrote way back in 2011. No, this is the President's Report. Up to now, it is being heard here at CARE 104.3 The Way FM. At ang aming presidente, ang mahal naming presidente, of course, si President Dan Andrew Cura ang nag-host nito, no? Yan. So, nakita nyo po yung margins, nakita nyo yung title. So, you start with the title and the episode, and then the name of the host, and then pagkatapos nun, of course, ano yung title ng episode na yon, and then yung air date and air time. So, ninanumberan yung script. Nakita niyo po, ano? Okay. In a nutshell, writing creatively means effectively laying out for your audience your chosen theme in such a way that all parts of the pie fit. No, dapat nagfi-fit siya and they contribute to the overall theme. A good creative script does not go off tangent. Yung sinasabi ko, nagsimula ka sa Bicol, tapos you end up in Zamboanga, no? Hindi linear, circular. It comes into full circle. And it is always centered on that underlying theme. Kapag clear ang message, kapag clear ang presentation, the audience understands and comprehends it in such a way that they cannot help but be moved by it. Okay, so, moving on. Guides on writing for radio. Ito, madali lang din, ano? Very practical. So, ano po yung primary sense that we use when we tune in? Oh, definitely, di ba? We use the sense of listening. So, it is written for the ear. Ano ibig sabihin nun? It is designed and presented for a listening audience. Unless, of course, may FB Live tulad nito, no? Medyo ititweak mo lang konti yung script. It is written, of course, in the descriptive form. Ano nga ba yung descriptive form? Adjectives. Ayan, a lot of adjectives. Detailed, detalyado, creatively written, and delivered. And if I may say so, naku, mga inspiradong guro, wag naman po na ganito. First day ng class, good morning class! Naku, move on na tayo ha, kasi nasa radyo na tayo, wala tayo sa classroom. So, ibang-iba, no? Oo, so written for the ear, dapat personal, mamaya, i-ano pa natin yan, ano? I-elaborate pa natin. Structured simply. Ito yung one thought at a time. Ang ganda-ganda sana nung message mo. Kaya lang talagang pinagsama-sama mo talaga lahat sa isang paragraph. Oo, wag ganon, ano? One thought at a time. Remember, again, if a 7-year-old can understand your program, it means na talagang andaling intindihin at kumbaga na-communicate mo ng maayos yung iyong mensahe. Of course, there should be an order. Kaya nga, pinag-aralan po natin yung structure, ano, for writing for radio. In the news, present tense is being used, no? We use the present tense in writing the news. Of course, short sentences. Short sentences lamang po yung ginagamit natin, no? Ibig sabihin, ang isang sentence, hindi 50 words. At the most, siguro mga 10 words yan. Di ba? Simple lang. pasimplihin natin ang mga buhay natin, mga inspiradong guro. And of course, direct to the point. It is personal and conversational. So you use the singular form. Meaning, hindi ko sasabihin, hello class! Sasabihin ko, hello sa iyo. Kamusta ka na ngayong umagang ito? Sana maganda ang gising mo. Narinig mo ba ang sirena ni Cap? Ako narinig ko rin yung sirena sa plaza. Diba? Very personal and conversational. Use their lingo. Ano pa yung mga ginagamit nilang lingwahe to connect with them? Of course, use humor. At ayaw rin natin na magre-rate tayo dahil sa vulgar words, ano? We do not want to rate because of vulgar words. Vulgar words are actually prohibited. Ayaw natin gamitin yun. And even sa KBP, merong standards yan, ano? May ethical standards yan of broadcasting. So, hindi tayo nagmumura, hindi tayo naninira, no? We're just there, no? Magaang kasama. Parang friendly. And of course, accurate. Lastly, must be accurate, factual, and truthful. Why? Because you cannot withdraw what you have said. It is difficult to change one statement. Of course, may mga erratum na tinatawag, ano? May mga corrections. But understand this. Kung sa isang buong broadcast, puro erratum ka, puro corrections, nade-diminish yung credibility mo as a broadcaster. That is why you practice, and you practice. Also, you must be believable. No? So, the more, of course, nakikita nila, uy, ito palang sinasabi ni ma'am. Sinabi rin dito sa source na to. Sinabi rin pala dito sa network na ito. Sinabi rin pala sa CARE 104.3 The Way FM. O, diba? Meaning, nagiging believable ka. So, how do you check if your facts are factual and actual and truthful? Ano? Oo. Check 3 credible sources. Lalo na sa news, ano? Kapag yung 3 credible sources na yun, talagang, no? Talagang ano siya? Talagang consistent na sinabi dun sa 3 credible sources na yun, malaki ang chance na factual and truthful yun. Why do we say this? Because in this time where so much disinformation has been spread, no? Yung fake news has been spread. It has hurt people. It has damaged reputations, no? Damaged the good names of people. Let us be agents of truth, no? Because in this time, truthful, relevant, factual information is also aid.
Ikaw ay aking kapatid, sagot kita.
Hello, Karian. This is Raquel Camolandong. It is with much gratitude that I address you as Karian, because we at CARE 104.3 DWAY-FM know that at this time of pandemic, we need the comfort and care of one another. We know that we are at a most vulnerable time, not only in the history of our local communities, but more so the entire world. Indeed, this pandemic has become larger than life. Our dear Karian, we are then appealing to you for partnership as though God were appealing on our behalf. Never will we allow our voice to be silenced on air, especially in these challenging times. As such, we are challenging you to be a part of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity in human history, to be with us in the front lines as you pray with us and financially give to God's work. FEBC is a faith mission, which means that we trust God 100% to use His people like you to provide for His work. FEBC Bicol has existed for 46 years now, communicating Christ's care. We desire to keep on communicating Christ through this pandemic and even long after it. We cannot do this without your partnership. You may give through account name Far East Broadcasting Company, China Bank, Legazpi City Branch. Account number 0917-0370120. Other payment options may be through door-to-door transfer, through courier service, or regular remittance. Our address is FEBC DWAY, Barangay Arimbay, along the National Road 4500, Legazpi City, Philippines. Our contact numbers are 0946-763-9858, 0915-931-7184, and 0929-359-4298. For those residing in Legazpi City, just text us and we will be happy to pick up your givings. As I close, there is this one reminder to us as your frontliners at CARE 104.3 DWAY FM. Every time we share accurate information of hope and inspiration, that is that red on-air light is still on. We wish you God's help, healing, and empowering in these trying times, as we know that He will still be victorious even over this pandemic. Let us #keep the red light on. God richly bless you for your generosity. Thank you.
He will be faithful to the end. He will provide time and time again. He will be faithful. He's so faithful, faithful to the
Here are samples of some sound spots, promos, and plugs. So, ang isang spot po ay isang 1-minuter. Usually, 1-minuter, pwedeng mag-extend. And it is usually a community service announcement. So, you communicate either a principle, an advocacy, a campaign, a dictum that can help your community. And narito po ang sample nitong spot.
Kabado ka ba sa tuwing maririnig mong ang bulkan ay nag-aalboroto dahil ikaw ay nakatira malapit dito?
Ay oo nga, palagi akong kinakabahan.
Dapat lang, sapagkat ang lugar sa palibot ng bulkan ay mapanganib. Nagtalaga ang PHIVOLCS o ang Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology ng tinatawag na PDZ o ang Permanent Danger Zone.
Ano nga ba ang Permanent Danger Zone?
Ang PDZ o ang Permanent Danger Zone ay 6 na kilometro sa palibot ng Mount Mayon at hindi nga inirerekomenda ang permanenteng pagtira sa loob ng lugar na ito.
Ganun ba? E paano na ang aming kabuhayan? Aming lupang sinasaka at saka ang mga tinatanim namin?
Huwag isugal ang buhay. Mas mahalaga ang iyong kaligtasan kaysa sa iyong pagkakakitaan. Makinig sa mga alituntunin ng PHIVOLCS at ng lokal na gobyerno. Tandaan, nasa huli ang pagsisisi. Para sa iyong mga katanungan, maaari kang tumawag sa CARE The Way FM. Telepono bilang 482-0460 o kaya'y mag-text lamang sa 0929-359-4298. Pwede rin makapag-ugnayan sa CARE 88.3 The Way FM, ang iyong landasin tungo sa mas ligtas na pamumuhay.
Okay, ito naman po yung promo. A promo is a 1-minuter production dapat. Pero pwede rin may extend, ano? So, pero wag naman 10 minutes. At the most, sana, no, 2 minutes or 3 meter, pinakamahaba na yon. So, a promo is a 1-minuter production that usually promotes either an event, a program, a radio program, a campaign from the Department of Education or from an agency. Ang difference niya is that it is time sensitive. There is a deadline for airing it. And by the way, diba? Gusto rin namin pong i-promote yung aming bagong programa mapakikinggan July 18th, Digdi sa Bicol. If you are a vlogger, ito po ay one-of-a-kind radio program. This is a radio vlog for vloggers. So if you're a vlogger, nako, narito po ang sample ng isang promo na gusto naming maging kabahagi kayo.
Yo,
Anong trip mo, friend?
trip lang.
Hello mga ka-Kerians, nandito po kami ngayon sa isang resort na dinidevelop dito sa Catanduanes. Sobrang ganda ng place, ng lugar.
Gusto lang naman ito ay maging mas...
Yan man ay music, food, gimmick, hangout, kahit anong trip. Basta, digdi sa Bicol.
Gusto mo mag-travel sa Bicol region. Ang kada probinsya talagang magagayon sa Albay, Sorsogon, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, and Camarines Norte, Masbate, Marinas.
Send mo na ang vlog mo or video recording kasama ang iyong friends. Sa fave food mo, ganap, at happenings. At kung ano bang trip. Huwag lang mag-exceed ng 20 minutes. Basta ang ganap na yan ay nangyari digdi sa Bicol, padala na yan.
Wow, Clay, sige, papadala na ako.
Talagang kailangan ka, Kuya Sam, kasi ikaw ang ating magiging resident vlogger.
Ay, oo nga pala, no? So, kaibigang vlogger, padala mo na ang iyong 20-minute vlog at kapag ito'y napili, ating ipi-feature ang iyong vlog sa kauna-unahang radio vlog nating Digdi sa Bicol. I-send mo via email sa info@dway.febc.ph. Make sure to give an ID to the video, including your name, age, and address.
O hayan, kaibigang vlogger, nais naming happy ka rin, makijoin na para sa ating kauna-unahang radio vlog. First air date nito ay sa Sabado, July 18th, from 6:30 to 7 a.m.
Join na! Basta digdi sa Bicol,
magayon!
Bicolano ka, halika na. Pagkilikin ang sariling probinsya. Bipitin na ang ating mga bagahe. Lilibutin natin ang Region 5. Bicol, Bicol, yo, pasyalan na natin ang Bicol. Bicol, Bicol, yo, pasyalan na natin ang Bicol.
And lastly, a plug. A plug is an advertisement from a separate entity. Usually, separate agency, separate company or entity or establishment promoting their services, their products, or their campaigns. Now, so recently, meron pong academy na nagpa-plug sa amin. So, narito po yung sample noon.
The sun will come out tomorrow.
We want our children to have a bright tomorrow.
Ow, ha, be, et, ma, I can read.
We want them to hone their gifts and talents for God's glory.
Wow! Galing naman ng anak kong mag-play ng ukulele.
We aspire that our kids have a bright future.
Hi, I'm Julia. If I could be anything, I'd be an astronaut.
But most of all, we earnestly pray that they have proven a godly character.
I've got the joy down in.
At Shiloh Christian Academy, we desire to achieve all this and more through our personalized one-on-one instruction system. We love kids and focus on children who have special needs, whether behavioral or academic. And do you know that we are situated in a farm environment with spacious playgrounds, vegetable garden, and animal farm?
Animal farm?
Yes, all this and more. Enroll your child now. Contact us at 0923-7367-041, 0909-9535-727, and 0916-39228. Look for Dr. Rosanna Versenas. By the way, Shiloh Christian Academy is accredited from the Accelerated Christian Education School of Tomorrow system. Shiloh Christian Academy, where your kid
So going full circle in this session, as we end this session, I'd like to share with you my biggest why of writing scripts. On a personal note, I love writing because I am reminded that there is a great editor, far wiser and sharper than I can ever be as a writer. Paul Tripp says, "Thankfully, I am not the author of my own life story. Yours, Inspiradong Guro, isn't an autobiography either. Your story is a biography of wisdom and grace written by another, by a supreme being, so that every twist and turn that he writes in your story is actually right. Kahit feeling mo wrong siya. Every new character and every unexpected event is a tool of His grace, even this dreadful pandemic. Every new chapter, no matter how shocking or horrifying, parang feeling mo, Lord, bakit nagiging horror na ang buhay ko? Nawalan na ako ng trabaho, nawalan pa ako ng jowa, diba? Parang horror na no? Pero alam niyo po, He will turn around so that in the end, His overarching purpose for eternity will prevail. What a comfort to know that even in this pandemic, our eternal, all-knowing, all-powerful God is in control. And ultimately, He is the author of our lives. Ours is a story of love. In fact, it is the greatest love story of all time. It is the story of how a holy God loved us, although we are so undeserving of that love. It is the story of God's complete forgiveness, that Jesus died on the cross for you and me. All of my sins, past, present, and future, are forgiven. It is also a story of God's provision, that in God, all of my deepest needs are met and provided for. Physical, emotional, and spiritual. And who only but God can write such an awesome story. And lastly, of course, God's story of us has a happy ending when we put our faith and trust in Him. That is why I write, and that is why I love writing. Because in the end, all that is written in our lives, maniwala ka man o hindi, is for our good and for His glory. Psalm 139, verse 16. And this is my last inspirational thought para sa iyo, Inspiradong Guro. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them ever came to be. And that is why I love to write. So maraming salamat, mga Inspiradong Guro, and happy writing. Meron po tayong writing exercise na i-explain ni na Ma'am Zell at ni na Ma'am Gretch. This is about observing the environment, and we usually require this for new script writers. So pumunta po kayo sa malapit sa Mayon or sa magandang lugar na merong nature. Go out to observe the reality of life. Ano ba yung mga nararamdaman? Ano yung nakikita? Ayan, ano? So, write pictures of the mind. Gather pictures. Hindi selfie ha. Pictures for the mind. And be willing to take notes. And, of course, conclude with the key message and information for the topic. So, again, yan. Maraming salamat, mga Inspiradong Guro. It has been a privilege for me to share with you why I love to write for radio. God bless you.
Okay, so natapos ang ating, sabi ko sa inyo, medyo heavyweight yung ating topic for the day, no? Nakakatuwang magsulat, pero isa talaga siya sa pinakamahirap ata, no? Ma'am Gretchen.
I think with this video, uulitin ko siyang panoorin. Kasi ang daming technical and essential knowledge na kailangan ko talagang balikan para may i-apply ko.
May handouts po tayo dyan. Diba? Pinopost naman po namin sa Inspiradong Guro na page. Tapos, medyo kulang kasi tayo sa oras. No? Medyo overtime na tayo. So, yung assignment po, ibibigay din po namin yung link sa inyo ng assignment. Tapos, kailangan nyo po yun isubmit sa amin. So, you have to submit it to us, no? Yan po ay ipapadala din namin yan sa PRC na naka-soft copy, no? So, mga outputs po kasi yan para dun sa mga gusto magkaroon ng CPD units. Meron po kayong writing assignment, no? So, kasama po yan sa quiz nyo for this week. Pero, sabi naman natin, hanggang August 20 naman yun eh. So, kung mga busy po kayo, pwede nyo naman pong hindi agad-agad gawin. Huwag lang kayo matatambakan kasi syempre, yung mga susunod meron din po, no? So, hopefully po, na-excite kayo sa pagsusulat. It always boils down to the heart, no?
Napaka-passionate ng ating speaker ngayon, si Ma'am Cecil Amog.
Talagang puso siya. Pagkatapos, Ma'am Gretchen, meron ka bang sasabihin?
Oo.
Yung kalahati.
Nalimutan. I-correct mo ako, Ma'am. Sige.
Hindi.
Sige, si Ma'am na lang. Si Ma'am Cecil na lang po.
Ako na lang.
Oo,
ang pangalawang keyword, okay?
Ang pangalawang keyword natin.
Hindi siya word number. Key number, okay?
Key number.
11893.
ATM number po yan ni Ma'am Cecil.
Kulang ng isa. 11893, no? So, yan po ang ating susunod na code. Pagkatapos po, meron po kaming ginagawa ngayon na baka isang email na lang po ang aantayin nyo. Isang email na lang kasi hindi na kami mag-i-email sa inyo linggo-linggo. Linggo-linggo po, magla-login na lang kayo at mag-e-exam kayo. Pinapadali, humahanap po kami ng paraan na mapadali. Kasi talagang ang daming nag-i-email sa akin na feeling ko na mga luhaan, no? Na hindi sinesend po namin na late lang po kami mag-start, no? I've discussed this kanina po, no, kung bakit medyo late tayo nagpapadala, no? Tapos yung mga, siguro mag-sessions na lang tayo na live. Magpo-post na lang po kami ng mga updates kasi kulang tayo sa oras.
Kaya po, do not forget to visit lagi yung page ng Inspiradong Guro.
Lahat po nakapost. Nakapost doon. Pati po dito sa The Way. Pinopost din po namin dito sa The Way, no? So, hanapin nyo lang po kung meron kayong, usually naman pag may bago, doon naman po talaga namin pinopost. Okay?
Yes.
So,
at para makabawi sa susunod na na program, Hugot Radio.
Hugot
Manood
Radio.
Po kayo.
Kasi late na kami. So, papabaunan po tayo ni Ma'am Gretchen. So, punta na po tayo sa Teacher's Takeaway.
Samahan natin si Teacher Gretchen sa pabaon niya sa atin ngayong linggo dito sa Teacher's Takeaway.
Mula po sa ating speaker, si Ma'am Cecil Amog ngayong Sunday, nasabi niya po kanina na yung greatest teachers are those not always in the front line. Usually, yung mga greatest teachers natin, sila yung hindi natin nakikita, hindi famous, pero sila yung talagang nagsuserve at their best to their students. Ayan. Meron po kayong picture na makikita, ipa-flash po natin. It is a jar filled with things. Nakikita po natin, punong-puno siya, no? So, kayo po ba ay teacher din ngayon na ang dami ng ginagawa, punong-puno sa dami ng assignments na pinapagawa ng ating mga heads? Ayan. Minsan, nalilimutan po natin na it is to serve that gives value to our profession. Hindi sa dami ng ating ginagawa, hindi kung gaano tayo kataas sa ating posisyon, pero it is actually our heart to serve. Pero paano nga ba mag-serve, paano mag-umpisa na makapag-serve sa kapwa, sa estudyante, sa co-teacher. Look at this empty jar. Ayan, nakikita natin sa ating screen ng isang empty jar. Ibig sabihin, yung jar walang laman, ano? So we really need to empty ourselves. We really need to think that we are available para tayo ay makapag-serve. Kaya naman po, sa ating teacher's takeaway, iwan po namin yung verse, yung ating Bible verse, mula sa Philippians chapter 2, verse 7. Ayan. Jesus himself, sabi niya, He emptied himself. Ayan. So, to end up, according to Martin Luther King, sa ating quotes na iiwan ngayon, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. Yan. So thank you, and let me pray for you, may kaguro. Maikling panalangin para po sa ating lahat na nagde-desire to serve. Lord, thank you for this day, and thank you for teaching us that to serve is the greatest thing we can do. Panginoon, tulungan mo po kami na i-empty ang aming mga sarili. Patuloy naming hindi isipin kung paano po, hindi po yung aming gustong gawin, hindi po yung kailangan namin, kundi yung pangangailangan lagi ng iba ang aming unahin. Unahin po namin ang aming kapwa bago po ang aming sarili, because teachers are public servants. We are servants to our teachers, to our students, to our co-teachers. Marami pong salamat, Panginoon. Ito po ang aming panalangin sa pangalan ni Jesus. Amen.
May space po. O yun, may mga nagtanong.
May nagtanong, yan.
May space po. So, maraming salamat. Sa susunod na linggo, ang topic po natin, audience engagement. Paano natin hihimukin ang ating mga estudyanteng makinig, no? Na makinig sa atin at hindi tayo i-tune out. Oo. So, maraming salamat kay DJ Ron. Maraming salamat din sa 15 minutes. Ito po si Ma'am Zel Mike, isang linggo na naman po ng inspiradong pagtuturo.
Hugot Radio ang susunod. Ako po si Ma'am Gretchen Nocos.
Goodbye! See you next week!